How's it going, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? Fletch here with a Fletch Talks Premier League preview. This weekend is Game 6. There are some big and interesting fixtures to be seen. So without further ado, let's get into the preview. We are going to begin with top of the table Chelsea, as they are away from home this weekend. They face West Ham on Sunday. West Ham finally got off the mark last Sunday in a 3-1 victory over Everton, whilst Chelsea leapfrogged Liverpool at the top of the table by goal difference following a 4-1 victory over Cardiff. Chelsea's record so far this season is perfect, 5 wins from 5 games, and they've been playing pretty well so far and have been impressive and surprisingly have so far gone under the radar a little as to being Premier League contenders, which may work in the Blues' favour going forward. Marko Arnautovic and Andrei Yarmolenko were amongst the goals for the Hammers last week, and whilst they, along with the rest of the squad, will be looking to build on last week's victory, I can't see Chelsea dropping their perfect start of the season just yet. The informed Eden Hazard will be looking to add more goals to his tally for the season, and with that being said, I think Chelsea will be 3-1 winners here. Next, we come to second in the table Liverpool, but only by goal difference. The Reds have had a pretty good week. A 2-1 victory over Tottenham last weekend and a 3-2 victory in the Champions League over PSG have all been recorded, and now they turn their attention to Southampton's visit to Anfield on Saturday. Those results don't tell you the full story, as Liverpool should have added more goals to their tally in both games, and you sense they're close to rediscovering their best form. As for Southampton, they let a 2-goal lead slip on Monday to Brighton as the Saints sit 13th with 5 points from 5 games. It's a huge game for Mohamed Salah. He hasn't quite hit the form that saw him score 32 Premier League goals last season and has cut a little bit of a frustrated figure in recent games. Whilst for Southampton, they'll be without the informed Danny Ings, who's ineligible to play against his parent club. So the responsibility of goal scoring will either fall onto the shoulders of Charlie Austin or Shane Long. However, I believe Liverpool's unbeaten start to the season will continue, and I think the Reds will defeat the Saints by 3-0. Next, we come to the defending Premier League champions Manchester City, who are away from home this weekend when they take on Cardiff. Cardiff's start to the season doesn't get any easier, as they are obviously now facing Pep Guardiola's side. Cardiff were heavily defeated by Chelsea last time out, with the Blues running out 4-1 winners, even though Cardiff did take the lead, while City will be looking for a response following their defeat to Lyon in the Champions League on Wednesday. But in terms of Premier League form, Pep Guardiola's side pulled off a comfortable 3-0 victory over Fulham last weekend. This should be a victory for Manchester City with plenty of goals, as I'm expecting a hard response following their defeat to Lyon. And unfortunately for Cardiff, they're the wrong team in the wrong place at the wrong time. Raheem Sterling and Bernardo Silva will be looking to continue their fine form. Leroy Sané will be looking to build upon his performance from last week, and obviously his goal, of course. And I'm sure Gabriel Jesus and Sergio Aguero will be looking at this as a good opportunity to get back on the score sheet. City to win 4-0 here is my prediction for this game. Next, we come to Manchester United versus Wolves, and this game should be exciting. I've enjoyed watching Wolves this season. They've played some nice and attractive football at times, and all in an attacking sense, which has been great to see for a newly promoted side. As for United, they've steadied the ship somewhat over recent weeks following a potential meltdown that may or may not have been brewing under the surface at Old Trafford, but their results have been results in that United should be getting. Maybe with the exception of a below par Watford, of course. This weekend, they're facing a team who will fancy their chances against the shaky United defence. Wolves have 30 attempts against Burnley last time out, but only scored 1 goal. If they had better quality in terms of the final ball or shooting, they could have had so many more. And as stated, I think they'll fancy their chances in this game. United will need Pogba to build on his performance against Young Boys midweek, and will need Romelu Lukaku to become a nightmare for the Wolves defence if they're to claim victory here. A little difficult to call due to the unpredictable nature of Manchester United, but I'm actually going to go for a 2-1 Wolves win. The final game of the weekend will see Arsenal take on Everton at the Emirates. Arsenal, who currently sit in 7th, have put together 4 victories in a row in all competitions, whilst Everton, who are sat in 10th, saw their unbeaten start to the season come to an end last Sunday when West Ham beat them 3-1. There are a couple of questions here. Can Arsenal make it 5 wins in a row in all competitions, or can Everton get back to winning ways? Everton is normally a tough fixture for the Gunners, but with both sides under a new regime, it's fairly unpredictable and hard to call. Everton will be looking for a response from last week's defeat, whilst Arsenal will be wanting to build upon their recent good run of form. Aubameyang and Lacazette will be looking to get on the score sheet, whilst Mesut Ozil will be hoping to build on his good performance last weekend. Whilst for Everton, they'll be boosted by having Richarlison available again following his suspension. And as far as a prediction goes, I believe Arsenal will make it 5 back-to-back wins by beating Everton 2-1. Next we come to Brighton versus Tottenham. Brighton go into this game 14th with 5 points after coming from 2 goals down to draw 2-2 with Southampton on Monday night. As for Tottenham, they've suffered back-to-back losses. That's 3 losses on the trot for those who've lost count, for the first time under Mauricio Pochettino after losing to Watford before the international break, participating in an uninspiring and poor performance against Liverpool, and then collapsing against Inter Milan midweek in a Champions League game after going a goal in front. This game's spotlight is solely on Tottenham. They need their big players to step up, the likes of Christian Eriksen, Dele Alli, and especially Harry Kane, who seems to have lost confidence or that edge that he had that saw him become one of the Premier League's leading goal scorers in recent seasons. Also, big game for Michel Vorm. The goalkeeper who stepped in for the injured Hugo Lloris needs a big performance, as he's been a culprit of most of Tottenham's goals they've conceded over the past 3 games. This game is difficult to call due to the unpredictable nature of Tottenham, but I'm going to go and predict a 2-2 draw here. Next we come to the game that's going to kick off the entire footballing weekend. Fulham versus Watford. It's a big game for both sides. Fulham need to win to get more points on the board and to steady the ship, so to speak, as they've had a pretty inconsistent start to the season. Whilst Watford will be looking to bounce back following their defeat to Manchester United last week and prove that they can still go strong going forward. Big game for both sides. Fulham will need Alexander Mitrovic to be firing on all cylinders, whilst Watford will need their big players to step up from their level of performance they put on display last week. The likes of Roberto Pereira and Troy Deeney will need to step up their game in particular. As for a prediction, I'm going to say Watford will bounce back, and I think they will do so in a 2-1 victory to the Hornets. Next we come to high-flying Bournemouth, as they are away from home this weekend when they take on Burnley. It may only be game 6 of the new season, but this is already a must-win game for Burnley. Only 1 point from their opening 5 games, and watching them against Wolves last week in what was a poor display should be sounding alarm bells for all involved with Burnley Football Club. This week's task doesn't get any easier though, as they're facing high-flying Bournemouth, who have arguably been the story of the season so far. A big 4-2 victory last week against Leicester added on top of Bournemouth's start to the season, in which they've now accumulated 10 points from their opening 5 games and currently sit in 5th place. Must-win game for Burnley. Simple as that. It's must-win for them. Whilst for Bournemouth, they may be seeing this as a great way of extending their great start to the season. Not many people were expecting Bournemouth to be doing this well early on in the season, but Eddie Howe's side are doing a great job. And Eddie Howe himself is doing a great job for the Cherries, I can add. And I can only see it continuing this weekend. Burnley need to win, but I'm expecting Bournemouth to stroll to victory in a 3-1 win. Next we come to Palace versus Newcastle. Last week, Palace got back to winning ways against Huddersfield thanks to their talisman, Wilfried Zaha. And I'm sure he will be called upon this week to help Palace overcome a Newcastle side who are in desperate need of a victory. It's been a difficult side for the Magpies, who have faced the likes of Tottenham, Chelsea and most recently Arsenal. But currently, Rafa Benitez's side sits second from bottom with just the 1 point. It's a big opportunity for Newcastle to get something from the game, but it's also a big opportunity for Palace to record back-to-back victories. Wilfried Zaha will be a huge player for Palace, whilst for Newcastle, they will need Solomon Rondon and Matt Ritchie to step up, as they are in desperate need of points and, like Burnley, find themselves in a must-win game. This result is one of the more difficult results to predict this weekend, but I think I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw. And finally, 11th meets 18th as Leicester play host to Huddersfield in what is a must-win game for the Terriers. Both sides lost last week, so they'll both want a good response, especially Huddersfield, who are still without a win this season, whilst Leicester will want to get back to winning ways ASAP. The Foxes will be without captain Wes Morgan, who's suspended following his red card last week, but they should be able to claim victory here without him. Unfortunately for Huddersfield, we haven't seen the fight and determination they displayed last season to fight off relegation. It could return this weekend, but I think Leicester are too good for them and will guard against that. And I believe Jamie Vardy will be back amongst the goals this weekend. Leicester to win 2-0 is my prediction. And that rounds up the Premier League preview for Game 6 of the season. Guys, let me know in the comments section who you're following this weekend or what your predictions are for the games to come. I'd love to read your thoughts and predictions. Otherwise, hit that like button on the way out if you enjoyed the video. Hit the subscribe button if you're new or want to see more content like this on the channel. Thank you all for watching and listening. I've been Fletch. This has been another Fletch Talks video. And I'll speak with you all again soon in another video.